Hey y'all, I'm Tim. Welcome to the MrMaple Show.
Guys, I'm Matt. Welcome to our 10 at 10 for January 24th of 2023. I think we got a great lineup here for you. I'm still gonna be saying 2022 till at least July, but we're into January at least, so we've got it that far. I think we have an awesome lineup here for you guys. Spring, surprisingly enough, is not that far away. I can feel it on the horizon. I'm ready for some spring foliage, but the 10 at 10s never stop. We've got some great stuff for you here today. If you like this kind of content, we're providing daily content here on the MrMaple Show. Make sure to like, subscribe, and don't forget that sharing is caring. We've been giving out some free hats to some of you guys who have been sharing this channel, been finding you guys. I really appreciate it. Continue to share and join that live chat.
So today we're talking about 10 trees. We got 20 on today's email. Make sure you're signed up for that email so you can figure out the full listing before this video gets done. You can get prepared and be ready when 10 a.m. hits to get shopping on the 10 at 10.
Now, I always have someone in the comment section say, these aren't on the website. Guys, these are listed at 10 a.m. Eastern. That's why it's the 10 at 10. The videos premiere at 9. So jump in that live chat too. Those guys are awesome. Let's start down here. We've got Acer palmatum, Abigail Rose.
Yeah, some great size Abigail Rose right now. This is a really awesome dwarf Higasiyama type. Stays very tight, very dense, and this is a really cool plant, and it's extremely heat tolerant.
Yeah, this is an introduction by Harold Johnston of Alabama. He introduced Abigail Rose. I actually saw the original one there at a friend of his home a couple years ago, and it was, not even 5 to 6 feet, probably over 30-year-old specimen there at that point. Had a really large base to it, but it wasn't that big. One of my favorite Higasiyama style variegations. This one's super colorful, really brings it in the early spring. You can see the density on these. These are awesome sizes. Excellent candidate for container gardening, fairy garden, but yeah, awesome small dwarf with a lot of high drama.
So next up, we have Higasiyama.
Right?
So if you want a dwarf one, we've got Abigail Rose. If you want the tall one, we've got the Higasiyama. I mean, these are some really good sizes on Higasiyama as well. This is one of my favorite reticulated Japanese maples. It's a classic. It's one of the very first ones. The name is said to translate as Umbrella Mountain. Some people say Higasiyama and Higasiyama. Those are the same plant.
Yeah, often referred to as the popcorn maple. When it first leaves out, it has that really funky unfurling. Get your camera ready when this one starts to leaf out. It really blasts out in the spring. Late day shade's good, but it can handle full sun. The slower you leaf it out, the more high drama you get in that very early springtime. This is one though that can handle a little bit more sun. Now you will hold your colors later into the summer on that like pinks and purples that this can display if you're getting some late day shade, but it can handle surprisingly a high amount of heat. It's a great reticulated form for some of those higher heat areas.
Yeah, late spring to early summer, you get some really nice white reticulation with green veining. I mean, this plant shows off all throughout the season, and it really gives you some nice oranges to reds in the fall. So all around an amazing plant.
Guys, we got the big guy and the little guy here on the 10 at 10 today.
Are you talking about me and you, or are we talking about the
I could bring my son. We could have a little man. Yeah, but we got the Abigail Rose and the Higasiyama. The Matt and Tim of maples right there. Next up, we've got another highly requested one coming back in stock. This is Acer palmatum Tattoo.
Yeah, Tattoo, this is always a crowd favorite. It's like a Mikawa type, slower growing, and a little more serrated and ruffled leaf.
Just like real tattoos, once you get one, you're gonna wanna get some more. This one is always popular. It's one that tends to sell out pretty quickly. This is one of the dwarfest forms of Mikawa yetsubusa. So think of Mikawa yetsubusa, but even 3 feet to 4 foot in a 10 to 15 year period. Very compact, very dense, making it a great candidate for container gardening. Has a little bit more of a sharper style leaf form to it as well than Mikawa, so it stands out in that regard, but very, very compact and small.
Yeah, amazing plant. Great for containers, great for bonsai. I mean, it's one of the slowest growing of the Mikawa types. There is another variety of Tattoo that's more of like a Kiyohime type. We often jokingly refer that as bad Tattoo, and this is the real Tattoo.
Right. This is the original form, named for that littler guy. I believe he was on Gilligan's Island. Awesome tree to be growing.
Was it Gilligan's Island or Love Boat?
I think it was Gilligan's Island.
Oh. All right, so next, we've got an amazing plant, Acer palmatum in the pink, sometimes referred to as rustling in the pink.
Oh, awesome tree here. Check out our full breakdown of this one we did in Dr. Criticos's garden. We showed a former stock plant of ours that is a full mature size, really awesome plant to be growing. I would love to see some bonsai done with this one. It's another compact dwarf. Think of this one kind of like a small, dense habit like that Rhode Island Red. It's a denser, fuller shape for a upright form with some intense pinks.
Yeah, and it has that larger red amenum leaf, but the leaf, as this plant matures, gets more cartoon-esque as it gets older. Amazing plant. Gives you some really nice pink-red colors in the spring, maturing to maroon, and then some really nice pink to orange reds.
Now, we'll tell you, bonsai guys, it's a little bit larger of a leaf as it matures, but this would be a super interesting one, especially for form, texture, and color. Pairs really well with any of the Mikawas as well because of that larger leaf. So next up here on the table, guys, we've got the batwing maple, the Batman tree itself, Acer pictum Usagumo. How many of you in the comments section below have seen me dressed as Batman plugging this tree?
Love this plant. The pictums are fantastic. They're heat tolerant. This one really comes out in the spring with some coral pink colors, then going to white, immediately to a white, creamy variegation on top of a blue-green style leaf. I mean, the colors on this plant are unreal. It has those batwing style leaves. And this one is one of those plants that's going to sell really quickly. Make sure to check out very quickly on MrMaple.com. We don't hold them for you until you finish the checkout process on our website. You know, people every week call and they say, hey, I added it to cart and it sold out. That can happen, so just be careful.
Yeah, this one's awesome. It's got that batwing style foliage, large leaves there for an Acer pictum. Really cool. You can take them off and throw them around like batarangs at people. Not really, but it's an awesome tree to be growing. I like to describe it as almost creepy variegation. It's got that swirling, faint white. If you can get this one to leaf out slowly, you really get some crazy shades on it. I've had pinks and oranges, just some amazing colors on that early spring blushing on it. Great fall colors too. I've had some really bold reds, large leaf style here. Now these are grafted to Acer truncatum, which gives them even a little bit more heat tolerance for those Acer pictums. Best way to be growing them. Don't sleep on those though. Those are a fan favorite for sure.
So next up, we've got Acer shirasawanum Plum Wine.
Yeah, guys, this is another introduction by our good friend and mentor, Talon Buckholtz. We recently did a podcast that might have already aired, it might not, on the top 50 introductions by Talon Buckholtz. You'll have to watch that to see where Plum Wine falls on the list, or if it's on that list. He's got so many. It's a favorite of ours, though. We love this color. Plum Wine really has a lot of interest. Now, this is a shirasawanum, likely a shirasawanum X palmatum, because it does have a little bit more vigor in it than some of the straight species shirasawanums.
And what this one does is it brings that plum color into shirasawanum. So you get more of that plum purple kind of color, those plum lavenders on the new growth flushes and this in the spring. Really that plum, kind of plum purple, plum dark red.
We're hitting that moonshiner algorithm today with the plum wine.
But this is a plant, we've got one of the oldest ones, it may be one of the stock plants, I have to ask, one of the original plants of this, that's about 6 feet tall, probably about 4 or 5 foot wide, and it's maybe 10, 12 years old. I mean, so it's not a very large growing tree. It has a very dense overall habit, and it makes a nice small to mid-sized tree in the landscape.
I think plum really aptly describes the spring color on this one too. It's a very unique purple shade. Plum is the best way to describe that. It's very interesting, and I think it's very unique amongst Japanese maples to have trees that shade. So next we've got Acer palmatum Peve Stanley.
Now, Peve Stanley is an awesome plant. This is one of those types, it's almost a sessifolium, it's almost a matsumuri. People often throw in that sessifolium group because the leaf is so divided out that it almost falls in the sessifolium group, but I don't know exactly where to place this one.
Yeah, I call this Peve. Now, Piet Vergelt named these. That's where it gets that abbreviation. Tyne Vergelt was actually here visiting a few years ago, and he pronounced it Peve, so I always stick with that. I think he'd know how his father's introductions are pronounced. Sometimes it can be a pet peeve of mine when people say Peve.
But this one has a unique leaf shape that's very different. It leaves out in the spring with some really nice red to maroons. During the summer, it holds those colors fairly well and goes to a brighter red to red-orange in the fall.
Now, this is a great candidate for a container plant, too. It's going to bring high drama to that with a real nice leaf shape. Or put it in the ground, but its overall shape and leaf lend itself really well to container gardening as well. All right, this one's back by popular demand for sure.
Acer shirasawanum Moonrise.
Yeah, if you haven't already, check out our series, our ongoing series on the full moon maples. We love Acer shirasawanum. Moonrise, probably the fan favorite. If I had to pick the customer's #1 favorite shirasawanum, it's probably the Moonrise. This one just hit Europe. It's become a really big hit for Carl Munn in Europe, And shout out to Carl. He's a mentor of ours as well and super influential on our nursery. Carl Munn introduced Moonrise, or Munn001. Moonrise is the trademark name on that one. Awesome plant.
Yeah, this one just keeps putting on some malting phases of orange-red to red over top of yellow-green to yellow to these really neat lime greens. The malting phases across this plant in the spring, in the summer, are spectacular. I mean, it's one of the most colorful, it's very vigorous, it's very heat tolerant, and this is a plant that we just love for Acer shirasawanum.
Yeah, guys, it's so colorful. It's going to be one you're definitely going to want to photograph a lot. I love this in the early spring. If you're getting an early morning sun, or even heavy sun here where I'm at in zone 6B, we have this one in full sun, which would be unthinkable for many of the Acer shirasawanums, but I have this one in full sun in zone 6B doing great. If you're getting some of that early morning sun, at least you're going to pick up some of those colors. It's not uncommon for this one to have apricot, bold red, and yellow all at the same time in that springtime garden, making it one of the most colorful maples. And definitely get your camera ready, because you're going to want to take pictures of this one every week, especially in March, April, May, and June. It's got something every single month there. It's a colorful tree year round. It actually fades to a light yellowish green, and then I've had oranges and reds at the same time on the fall on this one.
Yeah, amazing plant.
Next up on the table, we've got Acer palmatum Mikazuki.
Yeah, this is the first Japanese maple that Talon Buchholz introduced and named that had a reticulated style of variegation, but didn't put the name Ghost on it.
Yeah, Mikazuki is post-Ghost. So this one's a really fun one to be growing. I love that elongated lobes this has for a reticulated form. Very lavendery purple too. I would compare the color almost to its shorty neighbor, the Amagi Shiguri. It's got that kind of light lavendery purple that's very unique and different, but it has a very long leaf as well. It really is a cool plant to be growing, really showy. Tends to fill out quite quickly for me too, at typically over a foot of growth a year. So I would say on the upper scale for the reticulated variegations for growth.
Yeah, Mikazuki, it really just has some of those pink purple colors in the spring. Give it some protection from the hot afternoon sun for the best growth rate and the best color on this plant. But this plant is amazing. The spring color is fantastic. It does fade from that pink purple color in the spring to a pink white, then to a white with green reticulated variegation. I mean, amazing, amazing plant. The bold oranges colors in the fall are probably where this name, the name Mikazuki comes from, which translates as crescent moon.
I could hand you one. Or I could fight you with it. Hold on, I'm gonna turn this one around.
So next up, we've got Acer japonicum Indian Summer.
All right, we can put that down. That's sold out. Now, this one's going to be popular. We probably have a cultivar highlight that's airing around this time, too. We shot way back in Leaf. Indian Summer, super popular. This is a seedling that was selected of Acer japonicum in Holland because it often exhibits all the fall colors. This one brings it all in the fall. You can have yellows, oranges, and reds on the same plant at the same time. It really gets spectacularly colorful. I actually like it a lot in the early spring too. Not only is it green, it kind of has some blushing accents of red or orange over top of that as well in the early spring.
Now, being an Acer japonicum, it has a large leaf. In the japonicum species, it probably has a medium to large leaf. It's not the largest, but it's definitely a very large leaf for it. Really puts on a really nice palette to display those great fall colors.
I'd also compare this one in growth to that of, say, Emmett's pumpkin. It's typically one of the faster growing Acer japonicums, so it does get out there a little bit more than others. Awesome plant to be growing, and one we're happy to be offering here again at MrMaple. I know a lot of people probably missed out on this one around the first time back in the fall, and we've got another set hitting the website now.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, go check out our fall color walkthrough. We walked through that house with those Indian Summer in there, and they're in pretty peak fall color. You definitely want to check that out. And as I said, there's a highlight individual cultivar video coming up with Brian and Tim on this one as well, if it hadn't already aired.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty cool lineup. We got some japonicums, a pictum, a Makawa type, and then some Higasiyama types of dwarfs. I mean, it's a great lineup. Make sure you check out really quickly today. Make sure also to like our video and comment on our video. That really helps other people find our video. We would really appreciate that.
Guys, don't forget, sharing is caring, so share these videos with your gardening friends. That's the best way to help our channel grow. Let us know in the comments section below where you're watching our video from today. We can't ship to our international community, but we greatly appreciate your support on our YouTube channel. You guys are a lot of fun. I love hearing where you're from. It certainly makes me smile where I see people all over the world getting involved in that chat down there. It's a lot of fun. So whether you're doing it live or after, join that comment section. It's a great way to give us suggestions for future videos as well. We're bringing content here on the Mr. Maple Show 7 days a week. So every single day at 9 a.m. Eastern, we're airing a new gardening video, often focused on Japanese maples for the most part, but we do some other cool stuff. And then every single Sunday, we're bringing that podcast at 8 p.m. Eastern. And you can also find that podcast on all major podcast platforms. There's some really cool stuff there. I think you're going to want to be a part of it.
Take care
God bless.
and have a great day.